State Department is describing them as being thugs numbering around 300, saying that they were perhaps incited by state-run Syrian television. The Syrian government, we did reach out to them for comment. They are not saying anything at this point, but most certainly it would appear as if this demonstration in front of the U.S. Embassy, one also taking place in front of the French Embassy, coming about as a direct reaction to a trip taken by both ambassadors to Hama last week. The Syrian government has been really quite vocal in exactly how upset it was by that trip, saying that it was taken without the proper authorization. The Ministry of Interior, Wolf, had issued a statement accusing the U.S. ambassador of meeting with saboteurs and of inciting the demonstrations in Hama. And the government, as well as its supporters, have been pointing to this trip taken by the two ambassadors as being direct evidence of how foreign Western countries, namely the United States and France, are interfering in Syria's internal affairs, deliberately trying to destabilize this regime.
We know that the Syrian government has a responsibility to protect all foreign embassies in Damascus. What is the evidence, though, that the Syrian government may have been behind this attack on the embassy?
Well, there's no direct evidence that the Syrian government was directly behind this attack, but the U.S. has, however, been very critical of the Syrian security forces, saying that they were slow in responding, and also speculating and saying that this is a government that uses excessive force against peaceful demonstrators carrying olive branches, and yet appears to be sitting back idly watching while anti-U.S. demonstrations take place, allowing those to go forward. Most certainly, if anything, we do know that this is a regime, when it chooses to do so, does have the capability to clamp down on demonstrations fairly quickly and fairly violently, Wolf.
You're there back in Damascus, Arwa, for what the government is calling this National Dialogue Conference. But is it fair to say that there are any real opposition figures participating in this so-called dialogue?
Well, Wolf, most of the prominent opposition figures have boycotted, and there is absolutely no representation of the street demonstrators. What is interesting, though, is that those opposition figures who were present were, in fact, voicing the demands of those who were absent. They were saying that for this type of dialogue to even begin to succeed, the violence against demonstrators has to stop. They were very vocally critical of the excessive use of force by the government against these anti-government demonstrators. But there wasn't any real opposition representation. And even though the government is billing this as being the framework to begin implementing these reforms, there is a severe trust deficit that exists between the government and the opposition. The opposition quite simply does not believe that the regime intends to reform, and there's only one way that they can prove that, and that is if they stop shooting peaceful demonstrators.